The sun began to dip behind the horizon, painting the sky with fiery oranges and deep purples. A gentle breeze whispered through the fields, setting the tall grass dancing. It was a peaceful evening in the small town of Maplewood, but hidden beneath this tranquility was a storm brewing, one that would test the very soul of a local farmer named Jack Thompson. On this particular day, Jack stood on the porch of his weathered farmhouse, the weight of years etched into the lines of his face. He squinted at the last rays of sun glinting off his crops, a thriving testament to his tireless work. This land was more than just soil and seed, it held the dreams of generations, but not everyone shared his reverence for it. As dusk settled, a group of shadowy figures emerged like phantoms from the tree line edging his property. Eyes narrowed and hearts pounding, they approached with an intent that sent chills coursing through Jack's veins. He had seen trouble in the past, kids pulling pranks, but this wasn't that. This time it felt menacing, like a howling wind before the storm. From the shadows, he could see their smirks, twisted by mischief. They were armed with spray cans, paint hanging in a neon glow, thick and sticky like their intentions. They believed they could rewrite the story of this land, to reshape it in a way that would erase Jack's legacy, but they did not know the man they were up against. Jack had fought for this ground, had laid every stone, every fence post with his own hands. As they neared his field, Jack's heart hammered in his chest, but the fear turned to a blazing fire of defiance. He wouldn't let them stifle his legacy. With a swift resolution, he grabbed a flashlight from inside, its beam piercing the gathering darkness like a sword. He stepped outside, his silhouette stark against the glowing horizon, the shadowy figures momentarily frozen in surprise. The command in his voice boomed across the field. The air crackled with tension. He could almost hear the thoughts whirling in their heads, weighing risk against reward, but the bravado in their laughter shattered the moment, echoing against the quiet familiarity of the farmhouse. "Come on, old man," one of them shouted back. Jack's grip tightened on the flashlight. "This isn't fun. It's disrespect. You think this is a game? This land holds stories." For a heartbeat, the group's laughter faded. This wasn't just a splatter of paint to Jack. It was a stain that threatened to smear his life's work. Memories flooded in, his father teaching him to sow the first seeds, his mother planting flowers by the porch, neighbors gathering during harvest times, laughter echoing in the fields. The land spoke to him in those memories, every furrow in the earth steeped in love and toil. But these young hearts, wrapped in reckless rebellion, couldn't see that. All they saw was the opportunity for chaos. Their bravado rallied again, and they moved forward, cans in hand, targeting the very heart of his world. Jack took a deep breath. "Go now," he said, this time softer but edged with iron will. "Or what?" Another jeered, shoving his friend ahead, egging him on. Jack felt a pulse of desperation coursing through him. He didn't want confrontation, didn't want violence. But sometimes standing firm meant being ready to fight for what was right. The wind picked up, rustling the nearby corn stalks like whispers of long-lost ancestors urging him on. "Listen," he said, and this time his voice softened to match the gentle tug of the breeze. "You don't understand what you're doing. This land, it's alive. It's part of the community, our heritage." The bravado in their faces faltered just for a moment. Jack saw a flicker of uncertainty, perhaps from realizing that he truly cared, perhaps in questioning what was worth standing for. But as quickly as it appeared, it faded, replaced by laughter laced with scorn. "You old folks always over-exaggerate," one of them snickered. "This is art, man," and the yard erupted in a chaotic exchange of sound. Jack's heart raced, panic blended with anger coursed through him. He gripped the flashlight with newfound resolve. Art, was this how they defined it? A spray can flicking away the essence of a lifetime. This was not just the fading light of day. It was a challenge to stand guard over the sacred legacy of the soil beneath his feet. Abruptly, the leader of the group, a tall young man with wild hair and a smug smile, shrugged and took a stepping forward. Jack felt time slow as he stood firm, absorbing their bravado, the roots of countless generations intertwining with his resolve. You think strength is measured by size or numbers. In that fragile moment, Jack felt his heart sink with the pulse of the earth. It was a silent vow, a promise to hold his ground. And just like that, something shifted in the tension-riddled air. Perhaps it was the hesitation of youth staring down a man who spoke not for himself, but for a legacy far larger. The gang paused, uncertainty creeping in, the bravado beginning to wear like thin paint on an old fence. Jack held their gaze unwavering. "Listen, I know you think you're doing something cool, but this land means everything to people like me. You can laugh, but every spray can mark holds no heart, no soul. You want to leave a mark." Just then, a rare breeze rustled the trees around them, the sound like an audience shifting in a bated breath, captivated by an unscripted drama. Time seemed to expand as the young man's expression shifted. Doubt danced at the edges of his bravado. He faltered, attempting to keep the defiance alive, but Jack could see the wavering in his eyes. They were kids looking for meaning, misguided by the distorted idea of rebellion. Jack took a step forward, dropping the defiance in his voice for something softer, heartfelt. "You're stronger than this vandalism. You want a legacy? Build it, don't destroy." In the face of his sincerity, the fire within Jack ignited anew. The shift was palpable, bending the atmosphere. The shadows that threatened to engulf those young arms trembled in the weight of their mere presence. Silence fell, thick and heavy, as the last embers of daylight faded into dusk. "Go home," Jack finally said, softer now, almost a plea. "There's more to life than this." For a moment, no one moved. Then, as if a spell had lifted, the young man stepped back, his bravado shattering like glass beneath the heavy weight of the air. A glimmer of understanding broke through the defiance, and one by one the group turned to leave, their laughter giving way to echoed whispers. Jack stood still, watching them disappear into the fading light, his heart pounding but steady in its beats. The storm had passed. The ground beneath him was still secure, the whispers of the past wrapping around him like protective arms. As the stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky, he felt a weight lift, a sense of triumph rippling through him. This land, with its rich history and the laughter of a family long gone, still breathed with life, echoing stories waiting to be told. But that night before he settled into his warm bed, Jack felt a flicker of hope resonating through the darkness, proof that sometimes, standing up and speaking from the heart could touch even the most wayward souls. The path to showing love and respect could unfurl much like the land he tended, slowly but surely, ready to sprout forth a future that embraced the community, full of promise and possibility. In the end, the thrum of cicadas filled the air with a comforting reminder. This ground was still Jack's, and as long as he stood guarding it like a fierce guardian, woven into the very fabric of the earth, it would remain untouched by the chaos of the world beyond. The sun was setting over the sprawling fields of Maplewood, casting long shadows on the freshly tilled earth. Jack Thompson stood at the edge of his property, his weathered hands resting on the wooden fence. He had spent decades nurturing this land, each inch a testament to his sweat, his labor, and the dreams of his forefathers. But on this particular evening, an unsettling feeling gripped his heart. It was the sound that first caught his attention. A raucous laughter echoed through the still air, sharp and insistent. Jack squinted toward the tree line at the perimeter of his farm, where he saw a group of figures lurking, their silhouettes outlined against the fading light. His gut churned as he recognized that indelible mark of trouble. The group was young, too young to understand the weight of their actions, yet old enough to be reckless. Jack watched, his pulse quickening, as they pulled out spray cans, bright colors glinting in the dimming daylight. An electric anger sparked within him. They were about to unleash chaos on a ground that was sacred. One of them shouted, breaking the tension. His voice was laced with a mix of bravado and distortion, as if he genuinely believed they were doing something harmless. Jack's heart raced as he stepped forward. He had seen these kids before, but he had hoped they would stay on the right path, not veer into reckless destruction. This time, though, something inside him ignited. This land was his, he had nurtured it, and he wouldn't just stand by while they defile its spirit. His voice cut through the air like a bolt of lightning, commanding attention. The laughter halted, and a silence fell, thick and oppressive. "You're on my property. I need you to leave." A flicker of surprise passed through the group, but it quickly transformed into a collective smirk. Their defiance surged forward, a shield against the authority they presumed to disregard. "What are you going to do, old man?" Another one retorted, waving his spray can like a wand. Jack felt his stomach twist. This wasn't just about some paint on his farmhouse or field. It was a profound disrespect for the roots that drew deep into the earth. Swallowing his anger, he took a steady breath and replied, "This land holds the dreams and labor of generations." For a moment, uncertainty flickered in their eyes. Could they see the love he had poured into every seed sown, every fence erected? Jack glanced over at his fields, the crops swaying gently in the evening breeze. These weren't just plants, they were part of a tapestry filled with memories, history, and heart. "Come on, it's just some paint." One of them scoffed, trying to pull back the facade of rebellion. But Jack was unyielding, his heart pounding with the urgency of a man defending not just his livelihood but his very identity. "Art doesn't have to destroy," he said, his voice steady and strong, weaving through the air. But their laughter returned, louder, mocking. It echoed through the quiet field, a bitter slice of disconnection that clawed at Jack's resolve. They hurled insults, teasing his age, testing his patience. Yet Jack stood firm, a solitary bastion of conviction. Jack pressed, his voice cutting through the chaotic laughter like a beacon. The leader of the group, a tall boy named Tyler, stepped forward. "And what do you know about being young and free?" Jack felt the anger swell again but fought against it. Instead, he pictured those sun-kissed fields and the laughter of his children running through these very crops. "I know about freedom. I know it's more than just tearing down others." For a brief moment, the taunts faded and confusion crossed Tyler's face. Jack seized the opening. "Why not use your talents to encourage others? Paint a mural in town, give your creativity direction. You hold power in the paint you wield." The tension in the night hung thick, the stars beginning to twinkle overhead as if they were watching, waiting for a verdict. Jack held Tyler's gaze, and for a glimmering moment he thought he sensed a shift. But then, like a storm brewing, the laughter returned, desperate and uncertain. "Oh, please, old man," Tyler surged, brandishing his spray can menacingly. "This is our time." Jack's heart sank. He could feel the storm of youthful rebellion swirling around him, but there was no backing down now. The ground was trembling beneath them, not from fear, but from the fertile promises of what was yet to come. Jack replied, his voice growing heavy with conviction, that you'll carry on unscathed. Watch yourself. There's an emptiness in tearing things down, and it catches up. Tyler hesitated, the frown pulling at his lips. He shuffled his feet, glancing back at his friends, who were beginning to waver, uncertainty dancing in their expressions. Jack's words were striving to establish a connection, bridging generational gaps woven through desperation and misguided fear. But the moment broke as Tyler sneered, "Yeah, whatever, you're just a farmer." And with that, they turned to resume their defacement, chuckling as if the victory belonged to them. Jack felt a surge of despair wash over him. Would they really disregard everything? But just as they began to move, Jack took a deep breath, his heart pounding but steadied by something deeper. "I may be a farmer, but I understand care and connection. I've fought for this land just like you're fighting for your identities." In a heartbeat, the air shifted again. Another voice from the back, softer yet bold, broke through the haze of bravado. "Stop, guys, he's right." It was a girl named Emma, her clear voice cutting across the noise, filled with a hint of honesty. Suddenly, the laughter halted once more, unsure, searching as if they stumbled across a brand new path that stretched toward a horizon unknown. She continued, stepping toward Tyler. "Is this really what we want?" Jack felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this group was still salvageable. Could they turn the tide? As Tyler shifted on his feet, uncertainty overtook his confidence once more. He tries, desperation leaking through. Emma shook her head. Fun doesn't have to come at someone else's expense. Silence enveloped them again, tension thick and fragile. Slowly, she turned to Jack with sincerity in her eyes. "What if we helped you instead?" Jack felt a rush of possibilities unfold, a vision where they could create something together. Through the heart of that moment, he offered a simple nod, an invitation for collaboration instead of chaos. "I'd welcome that," he said, his voice catching in the evening's breeze. "Let's build, let's create beauty together." Tyler looked around, gauging the reactions of his friends. They had come clothed in bravado, but deep down they were searching for meaning, not destruction. After a moment thick with possibilities, he finally nodded. "All right," he said, the defiance in his voice softening. "What if we did paint something?" Jack smiled. "Then let's make it something beautiful." The air seemed to light as laughter transformed from mockery to genuine excitement. In that tranquil evening, under the fading light that illuminated contact rather than conflict, the walls they had constructed crumbled. As they gathered around, Jack began to share stories of his family, the generations that had cultivated this earth before him. The tales poured from him, animated and textured like the soil they stood upon. They listened, some skepticism melting under the warmth of shared experiences. Jack saw their eyes soften, enveloped in the spirit of the land. And soon, the shadows no longer seemed ominous, but rather an invitation to create something anew. With sprays in hand, they began to brainstorm ideas, all working to honor the stories intertwined with the ground they had nearly defiled. They laughed, shared jokes, and celebrated the beginning of what could be a significant transformation. As night fell deeper, the air filled with both artistry and hope. As Jack guided them, they painted a mural that not only told his story, but also included glimpses of their own journeys. They intertwined their lives into a woven tapestry of colors, a vibrant homage to the resilience, strength, and beauty that only emerged when hearts were unified. In that moment, the field was neither divided by age nor identity. It became an open canvas of collective potential. Jack stood back, watching the joy spread across young faces as the sun dipped below the horizon, surrendering the sky to a canvas darker but filled with stars. What had once threatened to destroy now became a bond, a bridge between generations, echoing with laughter and candor. The mural would serve as a reminder of the transformation, from anger to artistry, from conflict to connection. In treading that fragile line between preservation and rebirth, they had learned that standing firm doesn't mean refusing to grow. It means knowing when to lean into a moment of vulnerability and allow unexpected beauty to feed the soil where dreams take root. And under the blanket of night, amidst the splatters of color dancing against an unyielding canvas, they forged a new legacy, one of unity, compassion, and respect for the ground that nourished them all. Jack smiled, knowing the battle had turned into a blessing. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the fields of Maplewood as the clinking of metal echoed through the air. Jack Thompson leaned against the fence of his cherished land, a frown painting his weathered face. It was a peaceful evening, but a storm was brewing on the horizon, one that had nothing to do with the weather. He had seen the kids before, but this time they arrived in a gang unruly, loud, and filled with a sense of invincibility. Jack squinted at the group gathered near the edge of his property, their silhouettes shifting against the backdrop of the dusky sky. They were armed with spray cans, colors bursting like fading fireworks, poised to unleash chaos onto the very heart of his existence. His heart raced as he recognized their reckless intent. This wasn't just about graffiti, it was an assault on what he held dear. Jack had tilled this land with his own hands, planted seeds of hope, and watched generations grow. Now these kids were ready to claim that legacy for their own twisted idea of fun. The command erupted from his throat, booming like thunder. Silence fell, the nervous energy of the group halted as they turned to face him. "Get off my property." The air weighed heavy with tension, an invisible tug-of-war stretching between them. The gang exchanged glances, and their bravado flickered for just a heartbeat. But then, like a dam breaking, the laughter erupted, mocking and dismissive. "Relax, old man." One of them shouted, swaggering forward as if he were invincible. Jack felt the heat rise within him, anger mixed with a deep sense of urgency. He shot back, his voice steady but raw with emotion. "You want to have fun? You can do that without ruining what others have built." His words hung in the air, a desperate plea that fell on deaf ears. The group's laughter echoed like a discordant orchestra, drowning out the memories that flooded Jack's thoughts. The days spent plowing fields with his father, the summer barbecues, all the lives woven into the tapestry of this land. They didn't understand, but could he reach them? Could he make them see? He continued, intensity lacing his voice. "You're only leaving a stain. You can create, you can inspire." Some of the kids paused, forking over the idea of rebellion in the face of sincerity. Jack stepped forward, revealing the heart beneath the gruff exterior. "Look around. This land is alive. It's not just soil, it's hope and history." But the defiance surged back, stronger than before. A boy tall and with chaos woven into his hair pushed through the group like a leader rallying his troops. "What do you know about being young? You're just an old farmer clinging to your past." Jack's jaw clenched. The very essence of resilience and courage rolled through him like a rebellious tide. "Carve a path worth walking, not one that tears down what others hold dear." The fiery words hung between them, desperate yet hopeful. Yet the gang dismissed him, chuckling and rolling their eyes, caught in their bubble of youthful arrogance. Jack's heart sank slightly, feeling the weight of a frustrating truth. They thought destruction equated to power. As the boy laughed, something sparked a flicker of doubt on his face, a mere crack in their facade. "You just don't get it," he screeched, trying to regain his footing. But Jack stood firm, collective spirit coursing through him as he gazed into the distance. "I may not be young," Jack said, softer, his voice like a gentle breeze. "But I know the value of legacy. I fought for this land, and I will protect it." The laughter faltered again, maybe for just a moment, but that moment was crucial. The gang exchanged glances, uncertainty creeping into their bright eyes. Jack seized it. "If you want to leave your mark, do it with respect." A hush fell, broken only by the sound of a distant train whistle. The deep vibrancy of the earth murmured around them, and Jack felt that powerful connection between people and land. His passion resonated, and the gang, now caught in the gravity of their actions, began to reconsider. They came searching for chaos, but perhaps they had found something deeper in Jack's honesty. "Come on, let's just pull out the paint," one of them said, still unsure. But doubts started to bubble beneath the surface, fractures creeping into their bravado. Jack took another step forward, deep breaths ebbing between them, infused with tension. "What if we worked together? What if, instead of tearing down, you helped me paint something beautiful?" A flicker of intrigue illuminated Tyler's eyes, a glimpse of curiosity breaking through the armor surrounding his bravado. But before any agreement could arise, a wave of laughter swept through the group again, and they stepped back into their comfort zones. One mocked, and just like that, Jack felt the frustration rise again, the tightening of his chest, a desperate urge for connection clawing at him. He countered, passion behind his words. Why not change the narrative? Emma, a quieter girl, stepped forward, her gaze focused. She proposed, her voice softer than the others but filled with earnestness. "That speaks to everyone." Tyler, now on the fence, shifted his weight as uncertainty danced across his face. "That could be cool," he asked, glancing back at the others, who seemed hesitant but intrigued. Jack felt the air shift. This was the opening he needed. "We can absolutely do it," he affirmed confidently, motioning toward his barn. "Let me show you some ideas." Some of the gang's laughter faded, replaced with soft whispers of possibility. Slowly, laughter gave way to collaboration as one by one they stepped forward. Uncertainty transformed into a flicker of excitement, and what had been a moment of destruction metamorphosed into a vision filled with hope. As the five of them gathered around him, Jack began to share stories of growth and legacy, how each autumn's harvest was a celebration of hard work, how love had been buried into the land with every seed sown. The sun dipped lower, now a painting splashed across the horizon, illuminating their eager faces. In that space of newfound understanding, they spread their supplies, paint cans in every hue, brushes ready to create something meaningful. With every stroke, the fear of conflict receded and creativity flowed. They vibrantly depicted the vast horizon of endless fields, the muted charm of livestock, and the whispers of the past that echoed in the winds. Laughter transformed into joy, and as night spread her blanket over the world, they let go of preconceived notions and celebrated unity. Jack watched them paint, eyes gleaming with camaraderie as the shadows of the earlier defiance faded away. In their collaboration, they began to craft a mural that reflected respect and understanding, something they could be proud of. Creativeness danced around them, spilling through the air, echoing with youthful exuberance and seasoned wisdom. As the sky darkened and the stars blinked into existence, the piece blossomed into a stunning tapestry that merged their hearts, their stories, and their visions. It became a reminder not just of this moment, but of the beautiful potential that lies in shared dreams. And when they finally stood back, hands covered in paint, the mural stood tall, a testament to unity, resilience, and the beauty of collaboration. Jack looked at the creation, feeling a blend of pride and joy swell inside him. "You see," he shared with the group, "this land is worth protecting. It tells a story that needs to be remembered." As the gang admired their work, a newfound respect settled in among them. Tyler, still breathless with excitement, turned toward Jack, guilt creeping in as remnants of past intentions unraveled. "I'm sorry, man, we didn't realize." Jack smiled gently. "It takes courage to change direction. You turned a moment into something meaningful." The night stretched on, laughter echoing like distant stars punctuating a once dark sky, now swirling with color and vitality. Together, they celebrated transformation, each stroke of their paintbrush signaling a new beginning, a joint effort to lay down roots instead of tearing away the soil. Underneath the stars, a bond stronger than spray paint blossomed between them, showing that sometimes the hard paths can lead to unexpected beauty. And through it all, Jack stood as a guardian, protecting not just the ground beneath his feet, but the hearts and futures eager to form a bridge from chaos to creativity. The sun sank low over Maplewood, casting long shadows across the fields. Jack Thompson leaned against the fence, the familiar scent of earth and corn lingering in the air. He smiled, watching the golden waves of grain sway gently in the evening breeze. Just then, a sharp laugh broke the peace, sending a chill down his spine. It was a sound he dreaded, one that whispered of trouble brewing. Peering through the bending stalks, Jack spotted a group of teenagers lurking near the edge of his property. Their presence felt wrong, like a storm cloud gathering on the horizon. They were equipped with cans of spray paint, bright colors glinting under the fading sun. He knew without a doubt that they were there to vandalize his land, a place that had been his family's for generations. An uneasy knot twisted in his gut as he moved closer. He had worked endlessly for this land, pouring his heart and soul into every inch of it. Jack thought, anger rising like heat waves off the asphalt. His heart raced as he prepared himself for confrontation. Jack called out, his voice a deep rumble that cut through their laughter. The group froze, startled by the unexpected interruption. For a brief moment, silence gripped the air, then a chorus of sneers erupted. "Ah, relax, old man," one of them shouted, stepping forward with bravado that oozed overconfidence. Jack stood tall, planting his feet firmly into the ground. "This isn't fun." He took a step closer, each word heavy with urgency. "This land holds my family's history, our legacy." But they only laughed harder, as if his words were an invitation to mock his devotion. One of the boys, cocky and full of bravado, strutted closer, waving his spray can like a sword. "You think we care? It's just paint." Jack gritted his teeth, fury mounting within him. What they saw as a harmless prank was a dagger aimed at the heart of his legacy. His hands curled into fists as he fought against the rising tide of emotion. "This land is alive. It's not just dirt beneath your feet, it's my father's labor, my mother's dreams." They paused for a heartbeat, captivated by the fire in Jack's eyes, yet the moment shattered as laughter erupted again, drowning out his plea. "You're just an old man guarding his little patch of land." Something in the air shifted. Jack's frustration morphed into desperation. If he didn't stand firm now, they wouldn't just ruin the land, they'd ruin something far deeper. Implored, his voice steady despite the anxiety bubbling inside. "You think this is a joke? You think creating a mess is some kind of statement? This land has been nourished by love, by hard work." But they didn't seem interested in understanding. With another jolt of bravado, the leader of the group, a tall boy named Tyler, pushed through. "What do you know about being young?" Jack felt the heat redden his face. "Freedom isn't about destroying what others cherish. It's about creating something meaningful." Silence enveloped them, heavy and filled with weight. Jack watched as Tyler's bravado wavered ever so slightly. Maybe for just a moment, the seeds of doubt had been planted, but it was quickly crushed by the laughter of the other boys seeking to reclaim their misplaced confidence. Tyler sneered, shifting his weight defiantly. "An old man telling us what to do." The anger consumed Jack. His heart hammered against his chest as the realization of what was at stake dawned on him. This was more than just a few spray cans. It was a battle for respect, for heritage, and for the future. "You think it's a game now, but let's fast forward a few years. What will you do when you realize all you left in your wake is destruction?" Tyler laughed again, his demeanor a mask of defiance as he raised his can. "You're just a farmer." Jack's frustration reached a boiling point. "Because I care about this land, I've fought to protect it, just like I'm fighting now. You may be strong, but strength lies not in destruction, it's in protecting what matters, and this land matters." For the first time, uncertainty flickered in the eyes of Tyler's friends. The laughter faded, and Jack saw hesitation creeping into their youthful bravado. This was his chance. Think about where your strength really comes from. Does it come from mocking someone else's love, or does it arise from the ability to inspire, to build something beautiful? In the thickening dusk, the air crackled with tension. Tyler looked around at his friends, wavering in the light of Jack's unwavering conviction. Emma, a quieter girl in the group, finally piped up. Her voice was calm, but her words rang with sincerity. Jack's heart leaped. That's it. Let's transform this moment into something meaningful together. You can leave your mark, a legacy that speaks to the beauty of this land. The group looked to one another, uncertainty washing over their faces. Jack paused, hoping they could see the potential before them. The bond he felt with the land could extend to this moment if only they chose to embrace it. Tyler shrugged, the bravado slipping away, revealing a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. I guess we could, he muttered, glancing back at his friends. Jack felt his heart soar, the tension dissipating like morning mist. Let's celebrate this land. And just like that, something shifted. Fear mingled with curiosity, and they slowly began to put down the spray cans that had once threatened to destroy. Jack watched as they gathered around him, uncertainty giving way to excitement. An energy sparked between them, fueled by the potential of collaboration. As they spread out their supplies, brushes and paints began to mingle with the warmth of ideas. With each stroke, they shared stories of hope, pride, and dreams for the future. They painted the sun shining down over the fields. Vibrant colors blossomed like flowers, and they listened carefully, allowing Jack to guide them through the creation process. As night fell around them, the air filled with laughter and creativity. The once hostile group began to transform into a team, united by their endeavor. They shared ideas, bouncing designs off each other, weaving them into a tapestry of possibility. Jack asked, his voice tinged with nostalgia. His tales animated the scene around them, connecting each brushstroke to the history that seeped into the very soil under their feet. Together, they painted, merging colors and ideas, whispers of the earth blending into something astonishingly beautiful. They worked tirelessly, and slowly, what started as a battle for respect culminated into a creation that told the story of their community, the land and its people, intertwined and resilient. Minutes turned to hours, and the stars twinkled overhead in silent approval as they stepped back to admire their work. This mural stood not just as a testament to their collaboration, but as a symbol of strength and rebirth, a turning point for each of them. Look what we did together, Jack said, his voice thick with emotion. This is what happens when you let go of destruction and embrace creation. Tyler, awe-filled, nodded. Jack smiled, feeling an immense wave of gratitude wash over him. It wasn't just a mural on a barn, it was a shared victory, a moment of growth that would resonate with each of them. They had turned around their initial intentions, discovering a deeper purpose in their actions. Jack said, his gaze fixed on the mural, pride swelling in him as vibrant colors danced in the moonlight. Preservation isn't about destruction, it's about standing guard over something beautiful, something worth fighting for. Today, you didn't just protect this ground. As they gathered together, laughter and chatter echoed into the night, relationships forged through creativity, love, and mutual respect. The shadows that once threatened to overwhelm them had been replaced with unity, a bond unshakable within the layers of fresh paint. In the heart of Maplewood, beneath a starlit sky, a powerful truth blossomed, echoing in the laughter and voices surrounding the mural. The land had been protected, not just by Jack alone, but by a group ready to embrace the deeper meanings of legacy, honor, and unity. It wasn't just about the didactic lesson of preservation. It was about vulnerability leading to strength, collaboration born from dissent, and hearts intertwining beneath the promise of the earth. Jack knew that, in this moment, they had created more than a mural. They had painted a future, a testament to the power of resilience, a legacy that would echo through every harvest, every story shared under the warmth of the sun, and every heart that learned to cherish the ground beneath their feet. The sun hung low, casting a warm glow over the sprawling fields of Maplewood. Jack Thompson stood at the edge of his property, eyes scanning the horizon where golden crops danced in the breeze. But this tranquil scene was abruptly interrupted by a sound that made his heart sink, a shout filled with laughter, reckless and wild, cutting through the serenity like a jagged blade. Peering through the swaying stalks, Jack's stomach knotted as he recognized a group of kids he'd seen before, now gathered near the fence that marked the boundary of his cherished farm. Armed with spray cans, their presence threatened to unleash chaos on the heart of his legacy. His land, carefully nurtured through seasons of labor, was about to fall prey to youthful mischief. His heartbeat quickened, and a flash of anger ignited within him, pressing against the walls of his gut. How could they not understand? This was more than dirt and crops. It was history, blood, and sweat. Drawing a deep breath, he squared his shoulders and stepped forward. "Hey, you kids," the words burst from him, powerful and raw, echoing across the field. Silence descended like a heavy cloak, and the startled gang turned to face him, their expressions a mix of bemusement and bravado. One of them called, grinning as if challenging him. Jack clenched his fists, his mind racing. "This isn't fun, you're about to ruin something important." A ripple of laughter broke out as they looked at him. "What do you care?" The dismissive attitude hit Jack like a punch to the gut. "It's not just paint, it's destruction. This land has been my family's for generations." For a brief moment, confusion flickered in their eyes, but just as quickly their laughter returned, louder than before, drowning out Jack's heartfelt plea. It felt like a tidal wave crashing against his resolve, pushing him back, but he wouldn't be moved. This land, this history, was worth fighting for. A leader stepped forward. Tyler, tall and brimming with misplaced confidence, shrugged off Jack's words like they were leaves swept away by the wind. Come on, what's the worst that can happen? Jack took a step closer, desperation replacing his anger. This isn't about style, it's about respect. This land holds my father's dreams, my mother's labor. Their laughter stuttered, uncertainty creeping in as Jack's words cut deeper. He could sense the shift but knew that he needed to strike harder. You think this vandalism is creativity? You think showing disrespect makes you strong? The cracks in their bravado widened like fissures in the ground, yet Tyler stepped forward defiantly. You don't know anything about us, man. I know that true freedom comes from being able to express yourself without stepping on others, Jack countered, determination filling his voice. This land is a canvas, yes, but it's one already painted with blood, sweat, and hope. In the quiet that followed, the air hung thick with tension. Jack's heart raced, each pulse echoing louder than his previous words. It was a moment of reckoning, a breaking point where hearts could either close off or open wide into understanding. But before he could seize the chance, one of the kids burst out, egging the others on. Let's do it, who cares about this old place? And just like that, their resolve came crashing back. Jack felt a pang of despair. It seemed their hearts were unreachable, hearts searching for excitement in chaos. The paint, the mess, it's just a symbol of the chaos within you, Jack shouted. The words erupted, raw and unfiltered. Have you ever thought about what you're really fighting against? There was a flicker of hesitation in Tyler's eyes, but it quickly disappeared beneath another wave of laughter. He shouted, lifting the spray can as if it were a wand, ready to unleash his magic of destruction. Jack felt a deep anger and sadness collide in his chest. You think strength is measured by how much noise you can make. You think power is in numbers, in chaos. The laughter faded, caught off guard by the intensity of his conviction. Still, they didn't turn away. They remained, teetering between rebellion and remorse. Jack took a deep breath, desperate for them to see his truth. What if, instead of destroying, you built something together with me? Tyler faltered, uncertainty creeping back into his posture. He looked back at his friends, uncertain of their response. But in that moment, Jack didn't see just uncertainty. He saw an opportunity. Come on, he pressed. Use your talents to honor this ground. The air pulsed with tension, uncertainty creeping into the smugness of their laughter. Jack watched as their eyes darted around, searching for some semblance of clarity amidst the chaos. The flicker of defiance remained, but something had shifted. Emma, one of the quieter members of the group, stepped forward. Her voice was gentle yet filled with conviction. Jack's heart leaped. Exactly, we could celebrate this land, show its beauty. Tyler hesitated, caught between the remnants of rebellion and the allure of creativity. Jack smiled. You can. Let's transform this negativity into something we can all be proud of. As the group fell silent, the energy changed. The tension that once filled the air began to dissipate, replaced by curiosity and contemplation. Maybe we can, one boy murmured, glancing at his friends as if searching for support for clarity. Jack could sense the shift. Emboldened, the group stepped back, their bravado melting away like morning mist as they began to put their supplies down. As Jack shared pieces of his life and the land's history, they listened, captivated by his stories of harvests and the struggles of seasons past. The sun dipped below the horizon as they spread their supplies across the wooden barn. Each color that emerged from the cans seemed to breathe new life into the space, filling it with vibrancy and potential. With every stroke, they collaborated to create a mural that depicted the beauty of their community, intertwining both their visions. As night fell, laughter echoed through the spacious fields, mingling with the sounds of brushes pressing against the barn's wood. Where confrontation could have erupted, they now found themselves united in creativity. Their hearts beat in time with one another, and from the wreckage of tension arose a true celebration of connection. Jack shared stories from the land, tales of resilience and family as the young artists soaked in every word. They painted suns shining down over golden fields, expansive skies filled with birds in flight, and the gentle curves of hills that cradled the earth. Each stroke became a fragment of the past, a bridge to those who had walked this ground before them. As the stars blinked alive in the night sky, their mural took shape, a glorious blend of color and creativity rooted deeply in respect. Jack looked proudly at the creation, knowing it would stand as a testament to what can happen when hearts connect in collaboration instead of chaos. You see, he said, emotions thickening his voice as they stepped back to admire their work, this land isn't just a canvas. Tyler nodded, awe-filled. They stood together, admiring the mural, a beautiful embodiment of everything Jack had fought to protect. The colors leapt with life, vibrant enough to tell their own stories and whisper of a shared legacy. We didn't just paint a wall, Emma said, her eyes sparkling in the moonlight. We created a bond. Jack felt a profound sense of pride swell within him. What had started as a confrontation evolved into a collaboration that transcended age and experience. They had transformed a moment meant for destruction into one of hope, unity, and legacy. As they gathered around, laughter filled the night air, mingling with stories and memories. The stars blinked down as silent witnesses to an incredible transformation, a reunification with the land, a testament to the resilience of blending generations in harmony. In that moment, Jack realized they had achieved more than just creating art. They had painted a future, a celebration of what it means to protect the ground beneath their feet, knowing that this was a legacy worth standing guard over. A truth found in connection, respect, and above all, the extraordinary power of collaboration. A distant roar echoed through the tranquility of Maplewood, a sound that soon transformed into the tearing growl of engines revving. It cut through the cool morning air, unsettling the stillness that typically blanketed the landscape. Jack Thompson stood in the doorway of his weathered farmhouse, a sense of unease prickling at his skin. Out in the fields, rows of corn stood tall and golden, the result of years of toiling under the sun. Jack had poured his heart and soul into this land, and he wasn't about to allow anyone to disrupt the peace he had worked so hard to build. He squinted into the sun, trying to pinpoint the source of the disruption. A flash of color caught his eye. There they were, a group of teenagers in a rusty old pickup truck, careening toward his property, their laughter filling the air like a raucous storm. As they skidded to a stop, Jack felt that familiar knot tighten in his stomach. Mischief radiated from them, and in that moment, he knew they weren't there to admire the crops. With the sun looming behind him, casting a shadow over the porch, Jack marched forward, determination pulsing through his veins. He barked, his voice a firm command that sliced through their laughter. The teenagers exchanged glances, and for a split second, their smiles faltered. Then the bravado returned, and one of the boys stepped forward, his chest puffed out like a peacock holding a spray can. "Relax, old man," Jack's heart sank. "This is not a canvas. Come on, lighten up." Another girl chimed in, rolling her eyes. Jack could feel frustration boiling inside him. It's not just paint, it's disrespect. The laughter erupted again, this time louder, a wave of youthful recklessness crashing against the walls of his resolve. "Why don't you go back to your cornfield?" The taunts felt like daggers, but he wouldn't let them pierce his spirit. "You think strength is in causing chaos? Strength is in protecting what matters." But their laughter persisted, an echo bouncing off the walls of the barn as they clutched their cans, faces glowing with defiance. Jack stood tall, heart pounding fiercely in his chest, and considered his next words. "You have a chance to create something beautiful." "Yeah, right," Tyler, the self-proclaimed leader, shot back. "You don't get us." "I understand more than you realize," Jack countered, stepping closer. "I understand that the thrill of rebellion fades, but respect and legacy endure. You're standing on the ground where my father planted seeds with his bare hands." For a fleeting moment, the weight of his words seemed to linger in the air, but doubt slipped away like sand through fingers, and the laughter returned, disrespectful and loud. Jack's heart sank, a wave of desperation flooding his mind. Couldn't they see what they were about to ruin? Then a flicker of hope ignited in him. He implored, desperation creeping into his voice. "What if we collaborated instead? Create?" Tyler looked incredulous. "Because sometimes the strongest people are those who can change their actions instead of sticking to their bravado," Jack said, feeling the weight of his own experience. "What if we transformed this moment into something meaningful?" The teenagers hesitated for a moment, the seeds of doubt creeping into their bravado. Jack could see it flickering in their eyes. "This land deserves respect." Emma, one of the quieter girls in the group, looked thoughtful. "What if we painted a mural?" Jack's heart swelled at the suggestion. "Now you're thinking, let's celebrate the beauty of this place together." Tyler rubbed the back of his neck, glancing between his friends, caught in that moment of indecision. But Jack felt a shift, almost tangible. "Let's turn this around." In the fading sunlight, the air crackled with anticipation. Slowly, they began to set their spray cans aside. Jack took a deep breath, tentatively optimistic as they gathered around him. He could feel the tension begin to dissolve as they infused their uncertainty with creativity. Jack began to share stories, tales of hardship and harvest, of seasons fraught with challenges and joys. As he spoke, the teenagers listened, captivated by the passion that so vividly flowed from his heart. Each story unveiled the beauty of the land, filling the air with dreams and the aroma of promise. And then they got to work. The barn became a canvas, and the paint began to flow. Sunflowers danced along the edges of the mural, and golden fields painted a backdrop that reflected Jack's love for farming. They worked side by side, laughter now mingling with creativity, turning a moment of destruction into a symphony of collaboration. With every brushstroke, the group grew more united, more connected to the land they once threatened to deface. Jack watched, heart swelling with pride, as they transformed their own energy into artistic expression, breathing life into the barn as their mural flourished. Days turned into nights, and each evening they'd return, covered in splashes of color and laughter still echoing in the darkness. Jack felt the walls of divide crumble into dust, replaced by friendship and shared dreams. They painted not only a mural but new possibilities, a story that intertwined their lives with the life of the land. Tyler asked one night, wiping sweat from his brow as he stepped back to admire their growing masterpiece. "I think they'll see the heart behind what you created," Jack said, filled with hope. Every night their camaraderie deepened, erasing lines of age and experience. Together they created, sharing snacks and stories late into the summer nights, each moment wrapping around them like a warm blanket. Jack felt the joy swell with every stroke of the brush, his heart swelling with gratitude as he watched the transformation unfold. As the mural began to take its final shape, it reflected not just the land's story, but the journey they had taken together, showing that ingenuity and friendship could triumph over chaos and uncertainty. One late afternoon, under a fading sun, they stepped back to take in the mural in its entirety. The image glowed vibrantly, a testament to their hard work and unity. It celebrated Jack's legacy while embracing their youthful spirit, echoing stories of resilience, hope, and the shared joy of creation. "Look at what we've done," Emma said, eyes gleaming with pride. Jack could hardly contain his emotion. He felt a warmth spread in his chest. "You didn't just create a piece of art, you forged bonds." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange, they all stood together, basking in the beauty of what they had accomplished. The explosion of colors on the barn spoke louder than any words, telling a story of resilience, mutual respect, and creativity. As the darkness enveloped them and stars began to twinkle overhead, Jack realized that while he had fought to protect his ground, they had rallied behind him, redefining what it meant to protect. By transforming momentary chaos into lasting beauty, they had tapped into something far greater, a legacy woven together through art, respect, and the joy that comes from collaborative creation. In that moment, Jack knew they had sculpted not just a mural, but a bridge between the past and future, building a community that embraced the land's spirit and the strength of unity. This land, once a battlefield for misunderstanding, now stood as a sanctuary for the seeds of hope they'd planted together, forever yearning to bloom anew. As they laughed and shared stories that night, he knew that their hearts were forever intertwined with the land, thriving in unity, creativity, and the shared whispers of the earth beneath their feet. The sun hung low in the sky, tinging the horizon with fiery oranges and deep purples as Jack Thompson stood on the porch of his weathered farmhouse. He took a deep breath, inhaling the rich scent of earth and crops swaying gently in the late afternoon breeze. But then he heard it, a sound that sent an unsettling shiver down his spine. The far-off roar of engines, laughter piercing through the air like broken glass. Jack narrowed his eyes, every instinct telling him trouble was on its way. Turning toward the sound, he squinted against the brightness of the sun. A rusty pickup truck careened around the corner, dust swirling like a tornado as it approached his property. Inside, a band of teenagers bounced around, their youthful energy radiating reckless abandon. Jack's heart sank. He had seen this group before, a troublemaking lot always pushing the boundaries. But today, there was something in their eyes, something mischievous and unpredictable. As they skidded to a halt, laughter erupted into the air, rising between them like a wave meant to drown the quiet of the fields. Jack felt a knot form in his stomach, dread creeping in with the realization of what they intended. He stepped off the porch, instinctively anchoring himself against the fence, determination flooding through him. "Hey," his voice boomed across the yard, a steady hand raised as if to push back the chaos before it settled like dust on his legacy. They froze, surprised by the sudden challenge. Jack could feel the tension hanging in the air, thick and electric. Then one of them, Tyler, the leader with a sneer that could cut glass, stepped forward. "What are you gonna do, old man?" His words dripped with mockery, contempt oozing from every syllable. Jack held his ground, heart racing but resolute. "This isn't a game. You think vandalism is fun?" Their laughter rang out again, silencing his words with careless disregard. "It's just paint," another girl in the group said, rolling her eyes. Jack shouted back, desperation clawing at his throat. "Do you understand what you're standing on? This land has been in my family for generations. My father planted these fields, my mother cherished them." The words hung in the air, catching them off guard, but just as quickly they rallied behind a wave of defiance. Tyler stepped closer, chest puffed out like a rooster. "You're just a farmer." Jack clenched his fists, frustration brewing hotter than the summer sun. "I know strength is in protecting what matters. This land has stories carved into it, memories that shaped our family." For a heartbeat, doubt flickered in their eyes, but then the bravado crumbled into laughter once more. "Protect this from us?" Tyler taunted, raising his spray can like a weapon. Jack felt rage spike, a protective instinct igniting within him. "You think power comes from chaos? You're wrong." As the moment stretched, he could see them faltering again, tension mingling with uncertainty. "Listen," he said, voice steady but urgent. "What if you turn this moment around? If instead of vandalism, we created something together?" Laughter softened, surprise washing over the gang. Jack sensed the shift and pressed his advantage. "Don't you want to leave a mark that matters?" "I don't know, Emma," a quieter girl from the group murmured hesitantly. Jack's heart surged. Yes, a mural. Excitement sparked in his eyes, and he could see it catching on in theirs as uncertainty ebbed like the tide. Tyler hesitated, glancing at his friends, surveying the shift in their energy. Of course, Jack beamed as relief washed over him. "Let's start fresh." As they gathered around him, the initial tension began to dissolve, replaced by curiosity and a wave of new energy. They spilled their paint cans across the wooden barn like confetti, vibrant colors ready to spring to life. Stories flowed from Jack's lips, rich with warmth and history, tales that painted the spirit of the land upon their hearts. With every brushstroke, they revealed hidden colors beneath the surface. The quiet of dusk fell away as laughter and creativity intertwined, turning what could have been an act of destruction into a masterpiece of collaboration. Jack watched, heart swelling with pride as their connection deepened, each stroke embodying the very life of the land. But just as their murals started to take form, a dazzling landscape of sunflowers stretching toward the sky and rolling fields bathed in warmth, Jack noticed something amiss. The distant growl of engines returned, reverberating through the serene atmosphere. A shadow fell over their vibrant creation as a convoy of trucks thundered down the dirt path. His heart raced. Jack murmured, narrowing his eyes as he turned to face the road. The teenagers halted their painting, faces paling at the sight of the vehicles barreling toward them, the very air wrapped around them tinged with a sense of impending doom. Tyler's bravado faltered, the color draining from his cheeks. He asked, eyes wide, the youthful defiance evaporating swiftly. Jack's instincts kicked in like an alarm bell. Those are the local kids who have caused trouble before. Before he could say more, the trucks pulled to a screeching halt, tires spraying dust as a group of rowdy teenagers piled out, loud and brash. Jack recognized them as troublemakers from another part of town, known for their reckless behavior. The instinct to protect what he loved surged within him like wildfire. One of the newcomers shouted, swaggering forward like he owned the place. Their laughter filled the air, a jarring discord against the mural's beauty now painted behind Jack and the group. "Oh, it's just the farmer and his pals," Tyler muttered under his breath, exhaling nervously. Jack stepped forward, heart pounding. "This is my land." The new group erupted into laughter, unfazed by his words. A gang member taunted, taking a step closer, the mischief dancing in his eyes. "Looks like you have a little art project going on." With that, the gang of newcomers reached for cans of their own, brandishing them like weapons against the vibrancy Jack and the kids had created. A sudden, sickening realization hit Jack. It felt as if the very ground beneath him was cracking. Jack shouted, but their laughter mocked him as they slathered paint over the mural, marring the beauty they had painstakingly crafted. The colors fizzled away, replaced by chaotic strokes of bright, garish colors that violated the spirit of what they had hoped to build. He felt a surge of rising anger, the world spinning around him as if in slow motion. In that moment, Jack understood this wasn't just about paint and walls, it was about standing up for what mattered. Tyler and Emma exchanged panic-stricken glances, but something deep inside Jack surged forward. This wasn't merely a moment to watch indignantly. This was a call to protect not just his land, but the spirit of collaboration they had forged. Jack roared, taking a decisive step forward despite the numbers stacked against him. The newcomers paused, surprised by the surge of defiance radiating from him, but they quickly regained their swagger. "Or what?" The leader of the newcomers laughed, eyes glinting with mischief. Jack took a breath, steadying himself, drawing upon the love he held for the land and the mural. The heated air bounced with tension, each second stretching into eternity. Emotion rippled through Jack. "You think this is fun? Look around you." Suddenly, the laughter of the newcomers turned into a sneer, venomous and sharp. "Legacy," one of them spat, reaching for his kin with an intent to destroy. And in that intense moment, everything seemed to shatter. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he realized the battle had shifted into something far more critical than aesthetics. It was a fight for the soul of the land itself. He yelled once more, a fierce resolve building within him as he stepped closer. The teenagers paused for a moment, the tension crackling like electricity. Could they see the fire in his eyes? Could they feel the strength of love anchored deep within the soil? But just then, Tyler and Emma stepped up beside him, their own hearts pounding with a sense of collective courage. Together, they formed a wall of unity against the oncoming chaos. "You're not going to ruin this," Emma shouted confidently, finding her own voice amidst the storm. One of the newcomers stepped forward, fists clenched, eyes ablaze with defiance. "What do you think you're going to do?" But Jack felt a surge of power, the weight of generations pressing into him. "We're not just kids. This isn't just art, this is our representation of resilience. It's a story of strength, of community." The leader of the new group hesitated, uncertainty flickering through his bravado, but the moment shifted. In that breath, Jack recognized the intensity of their determination. Today, they weren't just defending a painting, they were standing up for the spirit of connection, the essence of their shared humanity against chaos. As they faced each other, a palpable tension hung in the air, a moment loaded with possibilities. Would they turn away from their destructive path, or would they plunge deeper into chaos? In that heartbeat of silence, choices loomed, reverberating like a drum within. Jack's chest heaved, and he knew he had to act. With resolve boiling over, he took another step forward, voice steady and clear as a bell. "You may think you're strong, but real power comes from building, from creating. Stand with us, not against us." The air crackled with tension as he reached for the nearest spray can, hoping to transform hostility into collaboration, boldness into unity. Would they embrace this chance to change the narrative? Would they be willing to join hands instead of fists? The outcome hung in the balance, the weight of history, legacy, and change resting on the fragile thread of the moment. Jack could feel every heart beating wildly around him as they faced the unknown, standing at the precipice of chaos and collaboration. Would they tear down, or could they rise to build anew? The tension thickened in the air, and the scene held its breath, waiting for the next move.